Hi guys, how you all doing? Happy weekend. Here was me thinking, gonna have a nice quiet weekend, break from everything. Opened my eyes this morning to a couple of messages regarding Benjamin Sesko, and we broke the exclusive news this morning that Newcastle have made a bid to RB Leipzig for the striker. So all the details coming up. Before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, leave your thoughts below, give us a like if you like this news. Hopefully this is better news for you guys. I would appreciate that. And here's the details. So here we are, Saturday morning, had a couple of beers last night, wanted to try and get a bit of sleep, and then I woke up to a couple of calls to say Newcastle had made an offer overnight to Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko. So made a couple of calls, found out that was the case, and Newcastle are, well, they're essentially going in big for Sesko because they know they really want him. So the offer that has been made is 75 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. So that equates to 65 million pounds plus, or 65.5 million pounds plus about 4.3 million in add-ons, which of course is a club record for Newcastle. It's identical to the bid that Newcastle placed to Eintracht Frankfurt for Hugo Ekitike. And Newcastle have been told by Leipzig that is the asking price, that is what they want. So they've gone in with what they want. Now there's some conflicting reports that Newcastle have actually bid 90 million euros, 90. That's not true. Why would they go in above the asking price? They know they just need to reach agreement with Leipzig. So that bid will be accepted by Leipzig if it hasn't done already. What Newcastle have to worry about here is Manchester United, because they like Sesko as well. They've had talks with him, and they could go out and make a similar bid. They could make the exact same bid, and then it's up to the player to decide. It's pretty much up to the player to decide anyway, but United obviously have to make that offer themselves. Now, does he want to come to Newcastle? That is the question everyone's asking me. If you'd asked me that question 2 days ago, the noises I was getting was that he was favouring Manchester United. But what I've been told this morning is that he's open to both projects. He liked what he heard from Newcastle in the conversations that he's had over the last 24 to 48 hours. He's been impressed, and I think Newcastle stand a chance here. Now, I'm not going to do a Mark Goldbridge and stand here and say he's definitely going to Newcastle, because I don't think that's the case. I think that Newcastle have got a chance. That's what I'm going to say. They've got a chance. They're at the table. They've put their money where their mouth is and said this is the offer, and now it's up to the player to decide, because as I say, Leipzig will agree to that. So look, good news this morning, because things were looking a bit bleak yesterday with Isak news. I mean, if you manage to get Sesko over the line, you've then got Sesko and Isak. But look, without doubt, if Newcastle sign Sesko, Isak will probably, like, I'm 90% certain that Isak leaves. So Sesko is the Isak replacement. So Newcastle trying to get their ducks in a row. Obviously there will be a bit of internal concern that Sesko decides to go to Manchester United and they lose out on another one, because the list is just growing bigger by the day. You know, we know all the names: Housen and Ekitike and João Pedro and Trafford and Delap and Mbumo. Like, the list is just getting ridiculous, and this would obviously be another one. So Newcastle are just really sensitive to this at the moment. But it feels to me like they're in a strong, there's not much more they can do. I believe the package that they're offering Sesko is very attractive, and that is why he's been impressed with what he's heard. So it'll be up to Manchester United to see what they offer. Now, from what I'm being told from colleagues that cover Manchester United, they want to include Rasmus Højlund as part of the deal, which is going to make things a bit more confusing for them. Not sure how keen Højlund is for leaving. And then it obviously just muddies the waters a bit in terms of fees, and do Leipzig definitely want Højlund? And so it feels like that's a key part of it, as to whether they want Højlund and whether Højlund wants to go. But the transaction from Newcastle is a lot simpler. It's purely 75 million euros plus 5 million add-ons, which is a package of 70 million pounds, and a long-term contract. So it's there and it's on the table, and it feels like it's an easier deal to do at this moment in time, which is why I think Newcastle have got a chance here. 2 days ago, before the Højlund stuff emerged, it felt like Manchester United were probably the favourites, but it sounds like they need to get bodies out the door to get players in, whereas Newcastle, as we know, are in a strong position because you've got money still to spend this window, and obviously, I mean, even if you sign Sesko for 70, that takes you to close up to the budget, but then obviously you sell Isak, then you're bringing in another 130, 140 million pounds. So actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Newcastle are in a position of strength here financially when they're up against Manchester United because they don't need to sell. You've obviously also sold Sean Longstaff, which helps a little bit as well. And you've only signed one player, so the money is still there. And I've been saying this for a number of videos now. I know it all feels negative and you've missed out on players, etc. But at least the money is still there. It's not like you've gone out, you've spent 125 million on 2 players and they've both got injured. The money's spent, the players are injured, you can't use them. The money's still there, or you know, a fairly significant proportion of the money is there still to spend. Only 52 million is been spent so far by sorry, I'm looking at my phone here. I'm getting loads of notifications about my little spat with that YouTuber that covers Man United. Is it Goldbridge? Is it Goldbridge? He had a bit of a pop at me this morning. He was obviously doing some kind of live podcast or something, and on YouTube, and he was obviously getting questions about this bid for Sesko, and he said, well, I've not seen it anywhere, I've not seen it, who's it? And then when we put it up, he didn't know who I was, which is fine, absolutely fine. I didn't know who he was either, so I'm absolutely fine with that. But don't come on and say it's wrong when you have zero information on the transfer, like zero. You're not speaking to one person involved in it, but yet you want to be the voice of reason. So I don't know, I just think people who have got that much power and sway, and he's clearly got a big platform there, why would you come on and just make stuff up? Like, make sure you speak to people involved before you come on and say anything. But there we go. But I'm just getting loads and loads of notifications from people here, so it'll be good to read these when I come back off. Sorry, I just I just went off on a bit of a tangent there. But look, it sounds as though he's impressed with what he's heard from Newcastle. The words I am told is that he's impressed, and Newcastle have presented their vision to him, and it feels like Newcastle have done everything that they can do. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few days what transpires there. He's definitely going to be on the move somewhere. Who does he go to? So a lot depending on, well, it all depends on him, but a lot depending on what Manchester United are trying to do with Højlund. And it might come the scenario where the simpler move for him is to go to Newcastle. Remember, Newcastle have Premier League football, Man United don't. I know Man United are Man United and a massive club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and that's why Cunha's gone there, and that's why Mbeumo's gone there. But they don't all have to go there. It would be pretty hard for Newcastle to take if they lost out in Sesko as well, and that Man United's front three next season would be Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko, 3 players at Newcastle either wanted or really liked ahead of the window. So let's hope you can get one of them in, and I would say probably Sesko of the 3 of them is probably the biggest name and the one most likely to be taken into the Newcastle fans' hearts. So let's see how it goes on. But yeah, time will tell. It'll be a few days. Alexander Isak is expected back on Tyneside this weekend. He'll meet with Eddie Howe when they return, so they get back Monday morning. I think they'll probably be back in on Tuesday, so let's see what happens there. But obviously if Sesko comes in, that will allow Isak to go, and then of course Liverpool will come back with an increased bid. All this nonsense about that's Liverpool made their final bid. They've not made their final bid. There's 4 weeks of the window to go. They've bid well under what Newcastle were wanting, right? Of course they're going to come back in. I know that's them, they're kind of briefing that's it, but it all just feels like a game at the moment, and a tactic, and sadly we're stuck in the middle of it all. So that's who we are, guys. It does feel more positive, I have to say. That doesn't mean you're definitely getting Sesko, because we know how these things work, but it's certainly the noises I'm hearing for people involved in the deal is that Newcastle are in a stronger position now than they were maybe a couple of days ago, and the way the project has been presented to him has landed really well with the Slovenian forward. So let's see what happens. Another final bit of news: Aaron Ramsdale was in having his medical the other day. God, don't know what day it was. Wednesday, Tuesday, can't remember. He's flown back to the south coast, back to Southampton, collecting his belongings, getting his stuff ready, and he'll travel back up here, I think either tomorrow or Monday, to join up with his new teammates when they return to the training ground on Tuesday. So there we are, guys, bringing you up with that exclusive from Sky Sports this morning, that Newcastle have made a formal bid to RB Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko. 75 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. That is a 75 plus 5 euros. That is a 70 million pounds package. So it would be a club record for Newcastle. And it is the exact same offer that they made to Frankfurt for Hugo Ekitike. So let's watch this space. Hopefully you can get one over the line and we can be a bit more positive for the last 4 weeks of the window. Cheers for watching, guys. See you soon. Hope you have a good weekend. Cheers.